Hi there, and welcome to Front Admin Training. This training is specific to those of you who are company admins on Front's enterprise plan. My name is Matthew Meeks, and I work here at Front on our global customer success team and will be taking you through today's training. In this training, we will cover a number of different topics to help you set up your Front account for your organization. First, we'll talk about how to understand and think about Front. Second, we'll dive into setting up your configuration inside your Front instance. Third, we'll talk about team and teammate management. So how do we add all of those new users to Front? Fourth, we'll talk about building rules for our organization. And fifth, we'll wrap up with settings and preferences that you should be aware of as a company admin. In the next 25 minutes or so, by the end of this training video, you should be able to understand the following learning outcomes. First, understand how to add your structural elements inside your Front instance. Second, understand the different components to begin setting up your organization's workflow. Third, understand how to add and provision new users. And fourth, understand how to adjust relevant company preferences to make sure that you are setting up your Front instance as you see fit. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's dive into understanding Front. Front is now your organization's customer communication hub. Front is going to transform all of that communication you are doing with your clients and customers, both external or directly with them, as well as your internal communication. Now, all of that communication, those applications, and your teammates are in one place, making it simple for every person in your company to have an impact on your customer experience. When you log into Front, what you will be looking at is your multi-channel command center, this image here on the right-hand side. Now, starting on the left side of this image, you will see Front broken down into a skeletal structure of two different parts. Up at the top, we have our individual workspace, and down below, we have our team inboxes or team workspace. Moving to the right, inside any of those inboxes, you will see your conversation list here. Clicking on any one of those conversations and moving to the right again, you will see your conversation pane. This is where you will see all of that back and forth with those clients and customers, as well as your internal collaboration. And lastly, on the right-hand side, you will see Front's plugin pane. Here, you will be able to connect to a number of third-party applications to make sure that you have all of your information right at your fingertips to be able to interact with your customers and clients. Up at the top, you will see your global navigation pane that will allow you to toggle between your inbox, your calendar, and much more, as well as your global search. And on the top right-hand side, if you ever click this gear icon, that will take you directly to your settings. Now, we want you to know that wherever you or your team goes, Front will go with you, because you can find us on a desktop application, a web application, or even a mobile application for those of you with Android or iOS devices. Now, inside all of your settings, you will actually be taken to the administration home. This is going to be your home that provides a number of shortcuts for all of the different capabilities that you have as an admin, whether it's managing inboxes, creating rules, or even inviting your teammates, all of which we'll go through in this training. We do want you to know that there are different roles for different types of users. Starting on the left-hand side, end users will primarily only have the ability to edit their own personal preferences, such as their own profile, their inboxes, or their personal rules. Team admins will have a few more preferences other than their personal preferences, but are specific to a team level, as you can see here. They will be able to add teammates to their team, build inboxes for that team, or rules, signatures, message templates, and more, but just specific to their team. Now, you as a company admin, not only will you have access to your personal settings, any of the team settings, but you will also have specific privileges at a company level, whether it's building company rules, enabling your integrations, or even dealing with billing. So let's go ahead and talk about adding your information. So how do you bring in your inboxes, your contacts, and your integrations inside of Front? First, when adding your inboxes, you are able to add these inboxes for all of your channels. We do want you to know that Front is an omni-channel provider, so you can add email, SMS, website chat, and much more. All of this can be done through your admin settings. One thing to note here is that individual inboxes can only be set up by the individual. We do this on purpose for privacy reasons. Now, whether you are a company admin or those team admins on your team, all of those admins can provision users to the inboxes on the specific teams that they have access to. So as company admins, you will be able to provision users across all of the different teams to make sure they have access to the appropriate inboxes. One thing to note here as well is that IT may be needed for certain account credentials. So if you are adding your inboxes, just make sure to have them close by in case you don't have all of the necessary information when adding those inboxes. Now that we have our inboxes added to Front, we also want to make sure that we're bringing in all of our contacts. You will be able to import all of your contacts just by uploading a CSV, and we actually provide that template for you. You can even create custom fields for these contacts to provide even more detail and insight on that customer information. You can adjust your preferences in Front as a company admin to tell Front whether it should create a new contact for inbound messages, for messages that you send, or for both. We also highly recommend managing your contacts through Front's API. This is an excellent way that you will be able to edit contacts, create them, delete them, and much more. With our inboxes and our contacts now added inside our Front account, next is to add our integrations. You will be able to connect to a number of third-party applications right out of the box with Front. As a company admin, you will be responsible for turning on or enabling those integrations before they can actually be used by the team. Depending on that integration, whether it's going to be in an inbox or just in your plugins pane, there may be a few different steps required, but once you enable it on any of those integration pages, you will actually see all of the different details to make sure that that integration is working for your organization. So let's go ahead and hop in a demo environment of Front and walk through everything that we've just talked about. So as I mentioned, here on the left-hand side of your Front instance, you will see that skeletal structure come to life. Up here, we have our individual workspace and our team workspace just below. Here we have our conversation list, so we can see all of those conversations. Clicking into any of those conversations, we will have our conversation pane right here. And on the right-hand side, this is where we have our plugins pane that you can expand and collapse as you see fit. You can also drag and drop all of these plugins as needed. Up at the top, we have our global navigation that will allow you to toggle between your calendar, your contacts, and even analytics. And over here on the right-hand side, if you press this gear icon, this will actually take you to your admin home. As a company admin, not only will you see a number of these shortcuts, but on the left-hand side, you will see your company settings as well as your specific team settings right here. Now, when adding your teammates, all you will have to do, or your team inboxes, excuse me, all you will have to do is select inboxes, whether it's for the specific team, and we can select inboxes. and then just go ahead and press this Add a Team inbox. Here you will have 5 simple steps to walk through adding all of that information, whether it's email, SMS, WhatsApp, or another type of channel. Once you have your inboxes added, you can then make sure to import all of your contacts just right up here with this contacts toggle. When you come to your contacts, you'll be able to see all of those contacts for your company. And all you have to do is select this little dropdown, select Import Company Contacts, and then upload your CSV to make sure that you're adding those company contacts. Now that we have all of our inboxes and our contacts inside Front, we can come back to our settings and go ahead and manage all of our integrations here. You will be able to see all of the integrations that you have access to, and clicking into any one of them, you will have a toggle here that will allow you to enable or disable that integration. Just below, you will see a little description that will help give context as to why and how you would use this integration, as well as how it works inside of Front. Hopping back into our presentation, let's go ahead and talk about team and teammate management. So how you're able to create teams and stay organized, as well as adding your teammates inside of Front when you're ready. When building teams on the enterprise plan, you will be able to create completely separate workspaces into different groups. Each of these teams will have their own distinct inboxes, rules, tags, message templates, and even analytics. A pro tip here is that you should think about creating new teams when you have separate business hours for those teams. So maybe you have an office in Sydney, Australia, and one in San Francisco with separate business hours. Or if you're looking to streamline your organization and administration inside Front, you can build out separate teams to make sure that they are specific to unique teammates and they have their own message templates, rules, signatures that are completely separated from one another. This is also an excellent way if you have private information, such as an HR team inside Front, that they should only have access for those HR individuals and not for anyone else. When adding teammates inside of Front, all you will have to do as a company admin is click the Invite a Teammate button if a teammate doesn't have access. From your company administration teammates view, you will be able to see which teammates have access to Front and which invites are still pending. You can also edit any of the user preferences for those teammates just by selecting their name. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can also provision users by creating teammate templates. This is going to be a generic user profile for new members that anytime you add teammates, you can already choose the profile at which you would want to add them. That will include any of those custom preferences that you have set up with that profile. You can also clone newly added teammates from an existing user. So if you have a teammate who is already set up, good to go, whenever you're adding someone new, you can automatically clone all of those inboxes settings for that existing user. We also want you to know that if you are using an identity provider, you can configure automatic user provisioning inside Front. So let's go ahead and talk about teams and teammates here in our demo environment. The way that you'll be able to access and build teams is just by pressing this team section under your company settings. Here you will see all of your different teams that you will see over here also on the left-hand side. As you're able to see, each of these teams have distinct teammates, inboxes, rules, message templates that don't overlap with other teams. When creating a team, all you'll have to do is select this Create a Team button, and we have more articles that can help walk you through this, how to create a team and when even to use teams for your organization. Once you have those teams created, we can then start to add our teammates. Here, you can add teammates at a company level or directly inside the team level as well, just by pressing this Invite a Teammate button right here. Here, you will be able to enter all of those emails for your new teammates, choose whether you want to clone them from individuals, and even set them as admins. You can also bulk upload those teammates as well. Inside your teammate company settings, you can build out those teammate templates. So you can see here a number of examples for those teammate templates. You can add a template to help onboard new users even more easily by creating generic profiles. And lastly, you can also dive into user provisioning to make sure that you are syncing your information with your identity provider and have those provision tokens right here inside of Front. And this is how you can easily manage all of your teams as well as your teammates. Now let's dive into and talk about rules. Basically, how to build automation at a company and team level inside of Front. If you or your team are looking to automate any workflow, any process that you have today, it can probably be done with a rule. Now, the very basic rules breakdown is really made up of three different parts: when, if, and then. When do we want that rule to trigger? If what conditions are met, then what exactly do we want that rule to automate for us? A few tips when thinking about rules for your company or your organization is first think about those predictive qualities in an email, in a conversation, in any type of message that you want to narrow down your rule. Those are going to be your if statements. So you could say, if it is from a certain subject line, if maybe the body contains certain keywords. Any rule that you create will be specific for a team unless you create that rule at a company level. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. As I mentioned, anytime you are looking to automate a process, it can be done with a rule. Another pro tip that we recommend is just make sure you are keeping a consistent naming convention. That way, if you ever need to troubleshoot a rule or need to go back, edit it, and find it, you know how to do so. On the enterprise plan, there are two ways to create rules. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see our rules library. As a company admin on the enterprise plan, you will have access to the rules library, which contains some of our most frequently used rules as pre-populated templates. Whether you're trying to build an SLA, an assign, a move rule, a notify rule, all of these are pre-populated for you. Also on the enterprise plan, you will be able to build custom rules, as you can see here on the right-hand side, that have those when, if, and then triggers, but there's no template provided. You are able to add all of those triggers as you see fit. As a company admin, we do want to make sure that you understand the difference between company, team, and individual rules. As company admins, you will be able to build company-based rules that will apply to all inboxes on every team. This means that these rules will impact not only your team inboxes across all of those different teams that you've created, but also all of the individual inboxes that you have within Front as well. You can build rules on a team level, but those will only apply to inboxes within that certain team. You can also build individual rules, whether for yourself or for teammates in your organization, but these rules will only be applied to an individual's inbox, so their own private inbox. So let's go ahead and walk through rules. Now, as I mentioned, rules can be built on a few different levels: the individual, the company, and the team. So you will be able to see under your company settings, you will have rules, but you can also build those right here under the team setting as well. As mentioned, inside your team setting, building these rules will just apply to the team. But up here at the company level, these will apply to all of your inboxes across every team, as well as individual inboxes. When building a rule, you have a choice to add a team rule that is custom or choose from the rules library, so a pre-populated template that you can leverage. So in this case, if we want to build a service level agreement, we can go ahead, select this template, and you can already see that some of it is populated for us. So here we could say that whenever we have an email come into our customer success inbox, if it is unreplied after 2 hours, then let's go ahead and add an SLA breach tag and notify a manager to make sure that they are following up with all of those SLA breaches. At a company level, when building a rule, you will be able to leverage the custom rule builder, which has no template provided, as you can see. We can go ahead and give that rule a name, and we're going to say that whenever we get an inbound message, and it's actually from a specific client, we'll say client@frontapp.com, then go ahead and move those conversations to a specific inbox. This way, any time that this client reaches out to us, whether on an individual or private basis, or to one of our shared channels, all of those conversations will move to the inbox selected across every inbox that you have inside Front, regardless of the team. Now, this is just a way that you can start thinking about how to build automation inside of Front. But we highly encourage you to start to figure out with your team, what are some of those processes that you would want to automate. Now, lastly, let's go ahead and dive into those settings and preferences that you should be aware of as a company administrator. First, on the left-hand side, we want to make sure that you're aware of single sign-on. With Front, you can enable single sign-on to force login with the platform of your choosing. In the middle, we also have a company preference for data retention. What you will be able to do here is actually set a time to automatically delete conversations after a certain period of inactivity, whether it's 1 year, 1 month, or 1 week. Automatically delete those conversations that have been inactive. And lastly, on the right-hand side, you can have a claim to your domain. What you're able to do is allow users on your email domain to automatically join a plan for Front without even having an invite. This is a great way to allow your organization to have easy access to your team's Front instance just through claiming your domain. So walking through these preferences here inside Front, the way that you will be able to work through all of those preferences is just by coming to your company admin settings, selecting preferences here, and you will see not only your general preferences, but you'll be able to turn on your single sign-on, set your data retention policy, and even claim your domain. Here, you will also be able to see your billing and API plugins and preferences when and if needed. So in your billing, if you ever need to check your invoices, you can look at these here, or you can always look at your plugins and imports via the API with Front as well. Now, this is just the start of what you will be able to accomplish as a company admin on the enterprise plan. And we are so excited to see how you build out your Front instance. So thank you so much for your participation and your active listening through this training. And we hope that you were able to take away some of those learning objectives that we spoke about at the beginning. If you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to our team, as we are more than happy to make sure that you are setting up your Front instance to achieve all of your positive business outcomes. And with that, we have to say Thank you again and welcome to Front.